Chosen ones, pause now and listen. There is a silence that only heaven can break, and today that silence has been shattered by something solemn, something urgent. A message has been sent, not by chance, not out of fear, but by divine intent. It is a sacred warning from the Most High, and it is directed at you, you the one set apart, you the one marked for a greater purpose, you the one whose future has drawn the attention of unseen forces both righteous and dangerous. You may believe you are simply living, simply moving through the rhythm of days, surrounded by familiar faces and trusted voices. But beneath that surface, something darker is shifting. Something hidden is moving in the shadows, close enough to touch you, subtle enough to escape your notice. Yet heaven sees it clearly. The Lord who watches all things has looked beyond what you can perceive. He has heard what was spoken in secrecy. He has seen what was done when you were not there. And now, he is no longer silent. A name has been whispered in the spirit, a single letter that carries weight in eternity R. This person whose name begins with R is not a stranger in the crowd. No, they are closer than that. They may already stand within your circle of trust, but their presence carries a hidden storm, and if you do not awaken, their influence will alter your path in ways that cannot be undone. This is not suspicion. This is not paranoia. This is a divine interruption, a call from heaven itself to pay attention before the hour is too late. There is a reason you are hearing this now. God does not speak without purpose. The timing of this warning is not random. The name R is not just a letter, it is a sign. Something is stirring behind the veil, and while you move forward in trust unaware, a hand has already reached toward the foundations of your life, seeking to shift, to confuse, to harm. Heaven will not let this pass without a sound, and so the trumpet has blown not to frighten you but to prepare you. If your spirit feels the weight of this message, if you know God is revealing something about someone close to you, whose name begins with R, comment 77 below, as a sign that you hear, that you see, and that you choose obedience over deception. Let heaven witness your agreement. Let the storm know you are awake. You have been warned because you are loved. You have been warned because you are chosen. And because the path you walk is sacred, the threat to that path must be revealed before it entangles your feet. This is your moment to see. This is your hour to awaken. As C.S. Lewis wrote in The Weight of Glory, there are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. You, chosen one, are no mere mortal, and this warning is no ordinary caution. It is a divine summons to awaken to your sacred path, protected by heaven's love and marked for eternal purpose. You are not alone. You have never been alone, not even in the moments when silence surrounded you, or when the weight of uncertainty made you question everything. What you felt as isolation was, in truth, divine shielding. What you perceived as abandonment was heaven's hand covering you while something darker approached. And now the covering is being pulled back, not to leave you exposed, but to help you see. There is someone in your life, someone close to you, who has already sensed what you have not yet seen. Their spirit has been stirred by something greater than themselves, and they have tried to warn you. Maybe their words were hesitant, cloaked in concern. Maybe they never spoke, but their actions betrayed the quiet alarm rising within them. However, they tried to reach. You know this. It was not without reason. It was not born of fear or envy. It was born of spiritual insight. They saw the shadow moving before you did. They heard the whisper of something that did not belong near your light. And they acted not for themselves, but for you. This person has carried a burden. They did not ask for the burden of seeing clearly, while you still trusted blindly. That is the nature of being chosen. Your path is not only watched by heaven, but also contested by unseen opposition. And those closest to you can sometimes see the early signs of sabotage before the enemy fully reveals his hand. The person who tried to reach you has done so out of obedience to that divine stirring. They were chosen to see what you could not. They were assigned to protect what you were not yet ready to confront. You may have doubted them. You may have dismissed their discomfort, explained it away, or even defended the very person they warned you about. That is not your fault. Love, compassion, and loyalty, these are sacred qualities, but even they can be used as a veil when deception wears a familiar face. But now the time for ambiguity is over. Heaven is sounding a second call this time. Louder and clearer. Do not ignore the warning. C.S. Lewis, in letters to Malcolm chiefly on prayer, wrote, "We are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be." Your hesitation to heed the warning, chosen one, is not doubt, but a natural response to the painful clarity heaven now offers. This divine caution, though unsettling, is God's mercy preparing you to protect your sacred path from the one whose name begins with R. The individual whose name begins with the letter R is not in your life by accident. Their presence, once innocent or unnoticed, now holds the potential to reroute your path entirely. This is not a vague fear or an emotional reaction. This is a divine caution rooted in truth. Heaven has allowed a voice near you to speak, to see, and to urge you toward awakening. The urgency you feel is not paranoia. It is the grace of God reaching out one more time before something breaks open. So now the question rests with you. Will you take the warning seriously? Will you humble your heart long enough to consider that what you have overlooked may in fact be the very thing that can harm you? The longer you delay, the more power you give to what was meant to be exposed. And heaven, though slow to anger, is not silent without cause. This moment is your invitation to see through God's eyes what others have already sensed. There is a name that now lingers in the air around you. It may have crossed your thoughts recently, or perhaps it came like a whisper you dismissed too quickly. But heaven is no longer whispering, it is speaking clearly. Pay attention to the one whose name begins with R. This is not just a name, it is a sign, a symbol, a signal, and it has been brought to your awareness, not by coincidence but by divine intervention. The person attached to this letter is not who they appear to be. Though they may wear the face of familiarity, speak the language of trust, or move through your life with ease, their true role in your journey may be something far more dangerous than you ever imagined. God is revealing this now because timing is everything. The R in your life is not a random presence. Their closeness to you carries consequence. Their influence, subtle or strong, holds the power to bend your path, cloud your judgment, or even intercept the very blessing that was appointed for your next season. And so this warning does not come lightly. It arrives with the full weight of heaven behind it. This person may be someone you've known for years, or someone who entered your life more recently but made a quick and comforting impression. Perhaps they've offered kindness, companionship, or counsel. Perhaps they've earned your sympathy by sharing their wounds, their dreams, their struggles. But beneath it all, something is misaligned, something spiritual, something dangerous. You may have felt it before, but brushed it aside, the way their words sometimes left you unsettled, the way their presence shifted the atmosphere in subtle, unexplainable ways, or the way they seemed to pull you into confusion, distraction, or even dependence. C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters warned, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point." This is your testing point, chosen one. It takes courage to confront the unsettling truth about the one named R, to trust heaven's warning over familiar trust. Your bold discernment now is the courageous act that protects your sacred destiny from subtle sabotage. Heaven wants you to know that this is not imagination. Those small discomforts were not accidental. They were early warnings, the kind God gives before the full unveiling. And now that unveiling has come, you are being shown a glimpse of what lies beneath the surface. Manipulation masked as concern, envy hidden behind affection, or even spiritual contamination disguised as connection. The R in your life may not even be aware of the fullness of their role in this, but whether intentional or not, they are a vessel through which interference has entered your atmosphere. This is why your discernment is being sharpened. This is why the voice of the one who tried to warn you cannot be ignored any longer. And this is why your spirit has begun to stir, to question, to wonder, even if you cannot yet put your finger on why. The truth is this: their presence is not neutral. Their influence is not harmless. And if left unchecked, their involvement could steer your future off course, whether in relationships, calling, or spiritual growth. You are being called now to see them clearly, not as you wish they were, but as they truly are. This does not mean hatred, judgment, or fear. It means wisdom. It means protection. It means alignment with heaven. You were never meant to walk blind. And now that your eyes are beginning to open, the Spirit is giving you authority to step away from the shadow before it becomes a storm. This is not about the person alone. This is about your destiny, about the weight of what you carry, and about protecting the sacred space God has created around your life. The name R is a marker, a divine warning, a turning point. What you do next will determine what remains, what falls away, and what is revealed. There were signs. They did not come with thunder. They did not arrive wrapped in catastrophe. They came quietly, subtle, fleeting moments that brushed against your spirit like the edge of a cold wind. A word that didn't sit right, a glance that lingered too long, a silence that felt heavy. You noticed them. You felt the discomfort rise in your chest, like a signal you didn't know how to name. But life moved quickly, and trust came naturally to you. And so you dismissed the feeling, tucked it away, and carried on. But heaven did not forget. The The Lord saw those moments. He watched as you extended kindness again and again, offering the benefit of the doubt, hoping that love would win, that goodwill would redeem, that what felt wrong could be explained away. But all the while, the signs were gathering, piece by piece. A pattern began to form, not of isolated discomfort, but of spiritual interference. Yet you, beloved, with your heart wide open and your loyalty deep-rooted, continued forward, unaware that the enemy had already begun to sow confusion in the name of closeness. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity wrote, "It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg." Your dismissal of those subtle signs. Chosen one was the shell of trust and loyalty, but now heaven is breaking it open to free you for flight. This awakening is the painful but necessary transformation to soar above the spiritual interference threatening your path. Now the veil is lifting. God is showing you that what seemed harmless was in fact a strategy. What felt like minor friction was a warning wrapped in mercy. You are being called to retrace your steps, to remember the moments that made you hesitate. Think again. When did peace begin to leave the room when they entered? When did your clarity grow dim after they spoke? When did their presence start to shape your decisions, your boundaries, your direction? These are not small things. These are spiritual fault lines. They have been there beneath your feet, waiting for pressure to expose the cracks. And now heaven is pressing not to break you, but to reveal what needs to be removed before it does. You see, when God marks you for something sacred, He will not allow what is impure to remain undetected. And though your compassion longs to cover, protect, and forgive, your calling demands that you see with eyes of wisdom, not sentiment. You must understand this truth. Not every bond is holy. Not every closeness is covenant. Not every shared history is meant to follow you into your future. There are those who walk with you for a season, and there are those who were never meant to enter the sanctuary of your trust. The one whose name begins with R may have crossed that boundary, not once, not accidentally, but consistently through small acts that wear down your strength, that dilute your clarity, that misalign your spirit with subtle weight. This is the moment to return to what you sensed before. The stirring in your spirit was not weakness, it was divine discernment. And now God is giving you the chance to honor that inner alarm, to trust that your soul recognized what your mind tried to excuse. You are being given time, but not much. The warning has come again, louder now, and what you do with it will determine what you are allowed to carry forward. Heaven is not accusing, heaven is awakening. And to the one who has been chosen, awakening always comes before elevation. Now that the veil is lifting, you are being asked to look again, not with eyes clouded by sentiment, but with the clarity that only heaven can provide. The person whose name begins with R has occupied a space in your life that carries influence, proximity, and trust. And that is what makes this so dangerous, because what is closest to you can shape you, and what shapes you without permission can derail the destiny written over your life. This person may have entered under the guise of friendship. They may have shared laughter, memories, and loyalty in moments when you needed connection most. But not all friendships are rooted in truth. Some are built on envy, masked as empathy, on comparison, veiled as concern. If R is a friend, you must ask yourself, why do I feel smaller after we speak? Why do I sense competition where there should be comfort? Why do their words sound right but leave me uncertain? A true friend does not drain your spirit. A true friend does not subtly undercut your confidence, does not sow discord in your other relationships, does not cling to your presence while resenting your progress. Look again. Or perhaps R is not a friend at all, but a presence in your work, your calling, or your ambitions. A colleague, a collaborator, or a voice of influence in your professional sphere. Their demeanor may be agreeable. They may speak well of you in public, but behind closed doors, are they advocating for you or working against you? Are they elevating your efforts or siphoning your credit? A subtle saboteur is harder to detect than an obvious enemy, and the most dangerous among them are those who pretend to support while secretly preparing your downfall. Pay attention to the patterns, to the shifting energy in meetings, to the way your words reach others, to the sudden roadblocks where once there was ease. This is not paranoia, it is protection. Heaven is teaching you how to discern where your fruit is being stolen. And if R is someone tied to your heart, romantically, emotionally, intimately, then the weight of this warning deepens, because nothing wounds more deeply than a betrayal dressed in affection. If this person holds your trust, your tenderness, or your time, yet walks in deception, you must confront the signs you've tried to silence. The defensiveness, the vague answers, the diverted questions, the unexplained distances, the subtle withholding of truth. Love is sacred, but so is truth. And the God who ordained covenant will never ask you to protect a connection built on confusion. If your peace has been bleeding, if your joy has dulled, if your spirit feels bound in their presence, this is not love. This is entanglement. But perhaps air is even closer. Perhaps they are woven into your family, your history, your bloodline. And this is where the line becomes most difficult to draw, because we are taught to endure, to protect, to cover those we love, even at the expense of our own wholeness. But family can manipulate too. They can use love as leverage. They can demand your loyalty while violating your boundaries. They can insert themselves where God never sent them. If R has taken the role of counselor, gatekeeper, or silent judge in your life, yet constantly breeds confusion, guilt, or shame, then this warning is for you as well. God is not calling you to rebellion, but to release. You are not bound by blood to endure spiritual sabotage. In every case, the warning remains the same. Proximity does not equal purity. Trust does not negate testing. And influence without integrity is a seed of destruction waiting to take root. The name R is a marker, a divine warning, a turning point. What you do next will determine what remains, what falls away, and what is revealed. Time is not as abundant as it once was. The window is narrowing. The shift has already begun. You may still feel as though you have time to observe, to consider, to wait. But heaven is declaring otherwise. The storm is no longer a distant threat. It is now pressing at the edges of your life, silent but gathering. And if you do not move now with clarity and conviction, the moment of hesitation may become the doorway through which chaos enters. There is a divine reason why this warning has come now, and not before. God in His mercy allowed you a season to watch, to trust, to give the benefit of the doubt. But that season is ending. This isn't about emotion. This isn't about guessing. This is about timing. In the realm of the Spirit, there are thresholds, moments, when decisions must be made before the weight of delay becomes irreversible. And right now you stand at one of those thresholds. What you choose to confront or ignore will shape what enters your next season. The one whose name begins with R is at the center of this threshold. Their role in your life may feel secure, familiar, even comforting. But heaven sees what you do not. Their hands may be reaching further than you realize. Their words may be planting seeds you have yet to recognize. And their presence, though tolerated, may be disrupting the alignment of what God has been trying to build around you. What feels harmless today could become harmful tomorrow. And tomorrow is closer than you think. This is why the Spirit is no longer speaking in symbols, but in direct call. Pay attention. Remove the veil. Act. God is not stirring your spirit for nothing. He is revealing danger, so you can walk in authority. So you can preserve the sacred space He has prepared for you. So you can cross into your appointed future without dragging the weight of misaligned attachments. If you ignore this moment, it will not be without consequence. The storm that now circles quietly will soon find entrance. And when it does, it will not knock, it will break. But if you respond, if you move now with discernment and obedience, heaven will seal the cracks. Heaven will reroute what was meant for harm. Heaven will preserve you because you listened. There is no more room for indecision. You are not called to delay. You are not called to hope that something changes. You are called to move. And in moving, you will see what God has been trying to protect all along: your calling, your clarity, your peace. What once looked like a name now reveals itself as a test. Heaven never reveals danger without offering instruction. The same God who uncovers the storm has also prepared your shelter. The warning was not sent to stir fear, but to awaken action, swift, holy, and intentional. You are not being asked to panic. You are being commanded to stand, to discern, and to move in obedience to what the Spirit is now making undeniable. The first instruction is this: trust what your spirit already knows. That unease you've carried, the tightening in your chest, the hesitation that followed certain conversations, the silent confusion that seemed to blur your peace, was not a weakness. It was discernment. The voice of God often speaks first through silence, through discomfort, through the quiet dissonance that no one else can hear. Do not wait for physical proof to validate spiritual truth. What heaven has already shown you internally is more reliable than any surface-level performance. Secondly, return to the one who tried to warn you. There is someone in your life, perhaps quiet, perhaps overlooked, who saw what you missed. Their concern was not random. It was assigned. God placed them near you to sound the alarm when your heart could not yet see. Go back. Listen again. Ask them what they saw, how they knew. Let their clarity become your confirmation. This is not about human opinion. It's about spiritual alignment. Their voice may be the vessel through which God delivers the final piece you need to make your decision. Next, watch closely. Now that you are awake, begin to observe the person whose name begins with R, not with suspicion but with holy discernment. Let their words fall without defense. Let their behavior speak for itself. What do they say when no one is watching? How do they react when you set boundaries? How do they treat your purpose, your peace, your time? The truth will not stay hidden long. It never does when heaven is involved. Then establish boundaries immediately. Whether this person is a friend, a colleague, a partner, or a family member, you are not obligated to allow confusion to remain close. The bond you share, no matter how deep, must bow to truth. God is not calling you to be unkind. He is calling you to be uncompromising. The safety of your spirit must come before the comfort of familiarity. It is not your responsibility to fix what refuses to repent. It is your responsibility to guard what is holy. Finally, protect what God has entrusted to you. Your calling, your clarity, your rest, your relationships. These are sacred spaces that the enemy would love to disrupt, not with loud destruction but with quiet infiltration. This is why the warning was sent. This is why your spirit has been stirred. Secure what belongs to your future. Limit access where necessary. Pray over every conversation. And do not allow guilt to become the leash that keeps you bound to what God is trying to remove. This is not rejection. It is redirection. This is not cruelty. It is preservation. And this is not fear. It is wisdom. Heaven's instruction is clear. Move now. Move carefully. Move prayerfully. But above all, move. This is the hour of sacred separation. Not all who walk with you are meant to continue the journey, and not every voice that speaks into your life is ordained to remain. Heaven does not bring exposure without divine purpose. The individual whose name begins with R may have entered quietly, stood beside you without resistance, or even offered words that felt like comfort in times of need. But beneath the surface, something has shifted. Their presence, once tolerated or even welcomed, has now become a weight, and the Spirit of God is calling you to recognize the difference between what feels familiar and what is truly safe. This is not a call to harshness, nor is it an invitation to bitterness. This is an act of preservation. The Lord, who has watched every detail of your story, is intervening now to protect what He has planted within you. Your peace, your clarity, your anointing. These things are too valuable to be quietly drained by influence that is misaligned with your calling. This separation is not punishment, it is preparation. It is heaven's way of ensuring that what was meant to grow in you is not suffocated by a relationship that no longer carries spiritual agreement. There may be no grand confrontation, no dramatic ending. In fact, the finality may come in the quiet decision of your spirit to say no more. No more access to your peace. No more entry into your sacred spaces. No more room for distraction disguised as connection. This is not cruelty. This is covenant. And covenant always requires boundaries. The kind of boundaries that protect what God is building through you. The kind that keep deception from becoming attachment. The kind that make room for what is holy to remain holy. You are not being asked to carry the weight of their response. Whether they understand, whether they change, whether they see the truth, that is not your assignment. Obedience is. Your role is not to fix what is broken in them, but to guard what is being healed in you. You were never called to rescue someone who was sent to distract. You were never assigned to preserve a tie that heaven has now marked for release. The longer you delay, the more tangled the consequences will become. But if you move now, if you choose obedience over sentiment, you will witness what God meant all along, that separation was not loss but alignment. This moment is holy. It is thin ground between what was and what is about to be. You do not walk away in anger. You walk away in clarity. And in doing so, you make space for divine restoration, for the joy that was dimmed to rise again, for the vision that was clouded to come into focus, for the path that was blocked to open wide. You were chosen. And with that calling comes a weight, a responsibility, and a covering. God will not allow what is sacred in you to be entangled with what was never meant to remain. So now you are asked to move not with fear but with reverence, not with haste but with holy urgency. The warning has come. The storm has been named, and the name R no longer has power over you unless you give it permission to stay. Step back, release, align, and watch as heaven goes before you to protect, to vindicate, and to bless. You are not losing anything. You are making room for everything God intended. Separate and be preserved. So now, chosen one, As you stand at the edge of obedience and release, there is only one thing left to do. Speak to the one who called you. Let the words rise from your spirit, not out of fear but out of surrender. Let your soul echo heaven's urgency, not to panic but to realign. For when God sends a warning, it is always an invitation into deeper intimacy, deeper protection, and deeper purpose. This is the moment to pray, not with rehearsed phrases but with open heart and sacred honesty. Let this prayer become your turning point, a prayer of separation and sacred preservation. Lord of hosts, the God who sees what I cannot, I come before you with a trembling spirit and an open heart. You have spoken through signs, through silence, through people around me, and now through unmistakable clarity. I recognize that you are calling me out of what was comfortable and into what is holy. I confess that I did not want to see. I gave trust where you never asked me to. I held on when you whispered to let go. But now I see, and now I bow. You have revealed what was hidden. You have named what I tried to explain away. And in your mercy you have not condemned me for being slow to perceive, but instead you've met me with grace. So I bring before you every tie I need to release, every person I've clung to out of fear, memory, or misplaced loyalty, every attachment that has diluted my discernment and pulled me out of alignment. I surrender it now, Father, not just in word but in spirit. Untangle me from every soul tie, every connection, every influence that you have not assigned. Give me eyes to see as you see. Let me no longer be blinded by charm, history, or emotion. Help me distinguish between what is good to my flesh and what is pure to my spirit. Teach me to trust peace more than patterns, discernment more than comfort. Strengthen me to walk away from what you're removing, without guilt, without explanation, without returning. Because what you have set before me is too precious to be jeopardized by anything less than divine alignment. And now, Lord, I ask you, seal me, cover my calling, surround my boundaries, sanctify my atmosphere. Let no imitation remain where covenant is meant to flourish. I declare by your authority that confusion must leave, delay must break, and every hidden agenda must be brought into the light. I reject every counterfeit relationship, every manipulative voice, every disguised enemy. I say no more. No more access. No more influence. No more deception. Restore my clarity. Redeem my time. Repair the places in me that were bent under the weight of silent warfare. And remind me that separation is not rejection, it is protection. Remind me that letting go is not failure, it is faith. And remind me most of all that when I choose obedience, I always walk directly into blessing. I will not be afraid. I will not shrink back. I will not second-guess your voice. I was not made to carry the wrong people into the right season. I was made to move when you say move. And now I move. In your holy name I pray, cleansed, awakened, and preserved. Amen.